So Peter, how did you get into cars? Do you have a first memory that takes you back to when that interest was first sparked?
No, it's funny. I've been asked that question before. And for me, there never was such a thing. I've always loved cars. I've always been into cars. One of the first words that I learned to say was Opel, which was a car that was very common where I come from. There was not any deciding moment where something happened and I had an epiphany. My family was never into cars. I'm from Denmark and I'm a military brat, so we moved around, and when I was a kid, I was about 7, we moved to Washington, D.C. because my father worked for the Danish military in the Pentagon. I remember when I was a kid and I had nothing to do, I would take my bike and I would just drive around parking lots and look at cars and look in the windows. And in those days, it would be like DeSoto Fireflights and Studebakers and Cadillacs and Finns, of course. And I could spend a whole afternoon just driving around. And if I was really lucky, there would be a Kaiser or something, really strange like that.
Do you have a favorite car, one that you've owned or not?
I am what the French call a Talbotiste, which means I'm into Talbot Lago. My favorite model of all time is the Talbot Lago Grand Sport, which is relatively obscure because most people are very focused on the pre-war cars. They only built 32 chassis. And what is interesting about the car is that it's a real sports car. It's like the T150 CSS, but it has more power. It's the last new model that came on the market anywhere in the world that was solely built as a bare chassis. And they were bodied by a number of coach builders, and no two cars were alike. And they fascinate me, and they have a lot of power, and they drive very well.
Do you have a favorite memory associated with cars?
My first dream car that I purchased was an AC Cobra. That was in 1986. In the old days, before the EU, it was not easy to get a car into the country. I went to England and I bought the car and I made the money transfer and I got it on the ferry and off the ferry and through customs, and they were sitting there in AC what, and they didn't know where to put it, and they didn't have the mark in their little lists and all the rest of it. Everything was manual. It wasn't digital in those days. But I got through, and my best single memory, and the sun was shining, and I was driving the car along the road in Denmark towards Copenhagen, and I thought, I did it. I got the car. I got it through. I have it here. It's mine. And I still have that car. I've never sold it. Other cars have come and gone, but that car has always, it's the kind of car that's always on your side when you're driving.
How did you first learn about Pebble Beach, and what is your participation in Michael?
Well, Pebble Beach has always been there. I mean, you cannot really be seriously into cars and not have an awareness somewhere that there exists this thing called Pebble Beach. I went the first time in 2009. We traveled over here and I bought a ticket because I felt that this was something that I had to do at least once in my life. Just as a spectator to see the cars, and it was overwhelming.
And now your participation with the selection committee, how did that come about?
I had written a book that was very well received, and it was about South Cheek, which was the featured coach builder in 12. After the concours 2 years ago, Sandra asked me what I thought of Estrada Fraschini as the featured mark and Castagna as the featured coach builder. And I thought, well, that's great. I mean, I could just see in my mind's eye these Estradas lined up like that down by the water. And I said, I think that's a very good idea. And then I said, would you like me to try and find some cars in Europe that might be interested in coming? And she said yes. Then last year, I was asked if I would participate in the selection committee, and I find the work very enjoyable. And so this year I'm back.